Is a number line. We know that number lines show numbers in order as they move from smallest to largest. Each number has its own spot on the number line, which is usually shown with a tick mark. Each number spot is equally spaced from the number before and after it. That's because each space represents the same amount. Let's say our unit that we are counting with is base 10 blocks. Each space between the tick mark would show or represent one unit block, like this. At 0, we would have no blocks, but the space between 0 and 1 would show one block. Then the space between 1 and 2 would show one more block, so that we have 2 unit blocks. And the next space would show 3 unit blocks, and so on. If the whole number 1 has a spot on the number line that represents one unit block, and we know that a fraction is a part of a whole and is less than 1, if we break the space between 0 and 1 down into equal parts on the number line, we will be able to locate or find a fraction spot on the number line also. Let's say we want to find where the fraction 1/3 is located. In order to do this, first we would have to find the space between 0 and 1. We know that 1/3 is more than 0, but less than 1. So let's zoom in on just that space. All of the space between 0 and 1 are fractions of the number 1. I know that the denominator of any fraction tells me the total number of parts that the whole is broken into. If our whole is the number 1, we are breaking the number 1 into 3 equal parts. I could think of breaking the unit block into 3 equal parts, or I could break the space on the number line between 0 and 1 into 3 equal parts. We know that when we break something into 3 equal parts, we break it into thirds, like this. I could count each of these equal pieces by thirds: 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, or like this: 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Now remember, I was trying to find the spot on the number line where 1/3 was located. I would look at the numerator, 1. The numerator tells me I'm thinking about just one part, so I'll shade in just one part. This is what it would look like if I were shading in just one part of the unit block. When I shade in just one space on the number line, it looks very similar. The spot where I land right here is the spot for 1/3 on the number line. This space right here is one of 3 equal spaces between 0 and the whole number 1. If we zoom back out on the number line, we can follow the same steps to find 1/3 in relation to more whole numbers. The space between 0 and 1 gets split into 3 equal parts. I shade in one of those equal parts and label it as 1/3. Let's see how this works in a problem. Let's say we want to find where 1/4 is located on a number line. First, we would look at our number line to find the space between 0 and 1, because we know the fraction 1/4 is more than 0, but less than 1, and we would zoom in on that space. Then we would look at the denominator of our fraction, because we know that the denominator tells us the total number of equal parts into which our whole number is broken. It says 4, so we would need to break that space into 4 equal parts. If we break the space on the number line into 4, it looks very similar. The numerator tells me I'm thinking about just one of those pieces, like this. So I would hop just one space from 0 to here. This spot is where 1/4 is located on the number line. This space right here shows or represents one part of 4 equal parts that the whole number 1 has been broken into. If I zoom out, I can follow the same steps to find 1/4 on the number line. The space between 0 and 1 gets broken into 4 equal parts. I shade in just one of those equal parts and label it as 1/4. Now you know how to place a fraction with the numerator of 1 on a number line by breaking the whole number 1 on the number line into smaller equal parts.